Yes, here we are. We're back. We're back to the beginning. Got it a little early. So this is Fallen Lucifers, the second one. He just, Lamont decides to rewrite the chapter, shift them around a little bit. It makes more sense. This chapter, I guess this is the third one because like there's an early one even before the book starts. There's before Fallen Lucifers. There's one. So this book has a bunch of false starts, and so we have another one. So let me take a look at this here. Where are we? Oh yeah, okay. No, no. Yeah, okay. We'll just leave that there. So you should be on page now. The real chapter 10 is next. Nameless, shameless is coming up next. So 323. But this one, this Fallen Lucifers starts on. Oh, oh yeah, that's the end of it. On 294. So we have Mulligan Stew. It's that last chapter was very short, didn't have any letters or anything. So we got back to kind of the craziness of the book. So the Fallen Lucifers again, the rewrite. It's the third time we've gotten into it, and this time he's like going pretty much the whole chapter. He's going, "Hi, Martin Halpern killed Ned. I was jealous, Daisy. He was led astray by those two women, and then we get to so there's that part. Fallen Lucifers. It's about and it's a little bit longer than some of the other ones, but it has like some of the stuff, and even has a it kind of goes off into italics where he's reading like some other book or something. I don't know what that is. And in Lamont's notebook, he says, "It is clear that Halpern's language attains strange rhythms and grotesque inconsistencies of the guilty mind. Two can keep blues since H. Halpern makes his secret love for Daisy Clare. Now blues as chapter one question mark or a prologue matches up matches on floor good. The patterns they make, also the way the image works in the chapter tell is Halpern insane." So we get Halpern's notebook. It's very short, and then he has a letter to Sheila, and she's, we kind of missed out. Like some of the letters to Sheila were my favorite part of the book, and this one he kind of dismisses Dermot Trellis. There's a review. He's saying, and the book's called The Red Swan, and it's like kind of like a sexual book. Like somebody calls it like the best book since Marquis de Sade or something. I don't know. Yeah, the unmatched since those penned by the Divine Marquis. And it was kind of funny. They mentioned he mentions Ronald Furbank in this one, so that's kind of weird because I really got into Furbank really hard, like in the later '80s after I read this. But I never really made a connection with Sorrentino and Ronald Furbank at all. But so Halpern, you know, Halpern's journal is very short here. It's just basically Ned is depressed, you know, and then we get the letter from Evan Lamont, the writer, to my dear Baron de Lennox, and in this letter he kind of like goes through all the characters from imaginative qualities of actual things, and kind of like the Baroness mistakes him for being an editor, and he just makes fun of that whole idea, like an editor. I look down on editors, and I don't know, Baron de Lennox, was that a character from a previous book? Did she show up somewhere else? But because all the other people show up, Sheila Henry, Bart Kahan, Dick, or what's the, yeah, Dick Detective, Guy Lewis, Bunny. Bunny, you might have known her as Joanne. Ah, was that the woman he was writing to? Leo Kaufman, blah blah blah. So he just kind of and he just makes fun of her, and you know, it's just a real insulting letter, and calling her old, and I'm kind of interested in seeing if she shows up in some of his previous books or later books. He says, he ends the letter, "You were correct in guessing that I've given up fiction nearing. It seems thoroughly irrelevant in today's world. I spend much of my time shouting at California table grapes and flogging an old meteroo. If your little legs can still carry up 6 flights of stairs, why don't you come and see me?" And then we get this thing called recent studies in contrarian behavior processes and complex resolution by Morton Dovington, PhD. So it's like this kind of weird scientific paper, including biology and science and physics, and it just, I mean, this is like 20 years before David Foster Wallace. It has like, these really like funny footnotes or endnotes or footnotes. I don't know what. And then there's like some math. The math just kind of, I don't know where, because I've been reading a lot of biology stuff, so it's kind of, I get some of the phrasing, because like in science, so there's the biology uses a lot of the same, because they talk about protons and neutrons and cells and elements, and so other parts of the sciences talk about this has the same terminology. So I'm familiar with some of the terminology, which I probably wasn't so much when I first read this book. I just probably like glanced over this, but I don't even remember this chapter. But I do remember these footnotes. And so when I wrote I Remember Jeep, it was probably, even though it was before David Foster Wallace too, and I was probably making referring to this a bit, where the footnotes don't really have much to do with the text, well, I guess there was the Derrida book, the footnote that went for like 100 pages or something. But Nicholson Baker also had the mezzanine, so that goes for a couple of pages, and that's the funny gag. I don't know what it means. It just seems like it just kind of thrown in there. And then at the end of this chapter, we have another letter to Dr. Roach, Professor Roach, and basically he's, hey, Professor Roach, nice to hear you after this time. He's kind of being friendly. Maybe you were busy studying Chaucer and influences on Swahili epic poetry. And then he starts talking about the Red Swan and what bullshit it is. You have a weakness for dumb MFers, as past performance shows. You may be a cultural hero among these sober youths. However, I may be wrong. I'm certainly wrong about Trellis, am I not? And then he's like saying, "Please return my manuscript. The thought of it on your desk fills me with horror, almost as if I turned a child over to Gil de Rais." So, Anthony Lamont's still kind of goofing around. He's kind of going insane. He's like jealous. He's basically like just sort of dropped his sister as a friend. He just kind of like has given up on her. Let me just mention the review of contemporary fiction. This review pointed out to me in a chit chat post. I read it. couple weeks ago. There's a good introductory essay by Stephanie Sobel. And there's what is good is, he wrote out like a kind of like he used to write those own composition books. I wrote a few of my early works in those too. So that's really good. So so what page are we on again? 323. So I don't think I'm back. I didn't know if I was gonna do it tonight. Mulligan Stew. I was gonna say when he's talking to Roach kind of seemed like a hip, one of those, back in the 70s and 80s, there were kind of hip professors that were kind of teaching, new fiction classes, comparative lit, guys that were, having classes about, the books that were kind of au courant at the time, like Gabriel Garcia Marquez, Milan Kundera, and Sorrentino. I mean, that's how Mulligan Stew. That's how I heard about Mulligan Stew, because they were teaching it at San Francisco State. My friend, I don't know if he took the class. He probably did. But there was a new fiction class. I could probably look it up. I do have some of them. I still have that the English teacher. It's the English department guide. The English teacher guide is something that I parodied for the school newspaper, where I was evaluating each teacher. But it was based on this thing that Petra Quinn gave me that was a San Francisco State. But there was in the mid 80s, there was a hip professor there that was in tune. I don't know I didn't really hang out at San Francisco State till the early 90s. So when Aaron Shurin and Mary Gateskill were teaching there, and I don't know who that person would be, because sometimes teachers go on sabbaticals or they change colleges and they get better jobs. And so, but it's funny that he's writing to a Professor Roach and trying to get his works taught, because that's how I found out about Mulligan Stew. It was being taught in San Francisco State in 1984-85 period, and that's how I heard about it. It's like, oh, here's a book if you like Joyce and Beckett and Flann O'Brien, who I'd not heard of at the time, you would like this book, Mulligan Stew. So I was already familiar with like some other things like Kurt Vonnegut and Brodigan and a few other, Tom Robbins. So, and soon I read Gravity's Rainbow, maybe in the same year. So that's why I am the person I am. I'm reading, when I was 20, I was 19 and 20, I'm reading Mulligan Stew and Gravity's Rainbow. And, and Pynchon has another book coming out. So that's great. So that's this chapter, Fallen Lucifers, the second one in the middle of the book, 320. If you're reading along with me. Okay, so the next thing you'll see in a couple of days will be Chat Post. And then I'll do a couple more chapters, and then around October 7th to October 10th, we'll have another interview, probably maybe with Chris Sorrentino. We'll see. Okay. Have a good weekend, everybody. Happy Sunday. Have a good week. I will myself, and we'll see you at a show.